Today, everyone is being accused of being a racist. Accusations of racism has become so common that it consumes social and political discussion. It doesn't matter if you're on the right or the left, you will be accused of being a racist. And it doesn't stop with people. Everything is now racist, including milk and tanning. Math and robots are racist. Avoiding eye contact is racist. Hawaiian bobbleheads, babies, and climate change are all racist. Even time is racist. If you expect someone to arrive on time, you are a racist. The ideology of race has spread throughout our culture, declaring everything racist. You can see for yourself by searching the internet. Type in any random word and add racist. You will likely find an article about how that thing is racist. The first random word to pop into my mind was boat. I typed in racist boat, and articles came up about a racist boat joke, a racist boat song, and racist boat names. But this is the one that really got to me. They say you are a racist if you treat people according to their individual character rather than their skin color. An ethical individualist tries to understand another person by looking for their individual character. But if you claim to see character rather than race, it means you are a racist who is denying your racial bias. In other words, there is no escape from being called a racist. If you filter the world through the ideology of race, then everyone and everything will be seen as racist. This brings up the question, what is gained by using divisive labels? What is gained by calling someone a racist, a sexist, a bigot, or homophobe, or an anti-Semite? Will the use of divisive labels make the world a better place? Rudolf Steiner has a very clear answer: no. At the end of this video, Steiner shows us a simple way out of divisive group identitarianism.
Dancing fearless.
In 1897, Rudolf Steiner became an owner of a literary journal named Magazine for Literature. The magazine was intended to be a platform for Steiner to express the spirit of the philosophy of freedom. He wrote cultural and political articles that applied the principles of individuality, ethics, and truth to the popular topics of the day. This was the historical period when the idea of establishing a Jewish homeland in Palestine was a topic of discussion. Steiner wrote an article to express his view on the issue called "The Desire of the Jews for Palestine." In the article, Steiner takes a strong stand against the tactic of accusing people of being anti-Semitic. I believe the basic principles Steiner used to oppose the use of the divisive label anti-Semitic also applies to other divisive labels used today, such as calling someone a racist, a sexist, bigot, or homophobe. I replace the word anti-Semitism with prejudice in the Steiner quotes to expand the meaning to include other forms of prejudice such as racism, sexism, etc. Steiner criticizes the leaders who he says are manipulating people with sensationalized stories about the threat of prejudice. The leaders of the anti-prejudice movements are hypersensitive and vain. I think it is more about the vanity of the leaders than a sensitivity to a perceived increase in prejudice. The leaders have intelligent minds and know what works most strongly for those who have a sensitive heart. The leaders intentionally trigger the painful experiences of past discrimination to control the group. One must blame the leaders for placing more obstacles between the Jew and the non-Jew than the anti-Semitic agitators. The leaders of anti-prejudice movements are doing more harm by stirring up hate between identity groups than the harm done by actual racist, sexist, etc. For example, the leaders are making it more difficult for a black person to get along with a white person than the actual racist agitators. This is very obvious when you look at the divisive nature of identity politics, which pits one group against another for political gain. Steiner goes on to say things that are often repeated today about the anti-prejudice movement. They turn their eyes away from the great advances that have been made. They do so because their hurt feelings cloud their minds. Mistrust has thoroughly seized their souls. In the case of people with no trace of conscious prejudice, they suspect an unconscious, instinctive, secret hatred at the bottom of the soul. Today, they tell us we are all racist, sexist, homophobes, and anti-Semitic because we have no control over unconscious bias. We have no free will, but are merely automatons, programmed by our prejudice culture. Unconscious bias, a bias that we are unaware of and which happens outside of our control. It is a bias that happens automatically and is triggered by our brain making quick judgments and assessments of people and situations influenced by our background, cultural environment, and personal experiences. The establishment media increases their ratings with sensationalized news about acts of prejudice that fills hearts with anxiety, fear, and insecurity. Steiner says they hear that they are being insulted by the racist, sexist, bigots, homophobes, anti-Semites in the most desperate way. They are unable to see the powerlessness. They only see its drive and its outrageous excesses. It is not real racism, sexism, homophobia, anti-Semitism that is the cause of this oversensitivity, but the false image formed by the overexcited imagination of the anti-prejudice movement. Look at how futile are the mechanisms of hate, and how all their endeavors end in embarrassment. If anyone were to write an article or hold a rally truly in support of prejudice, they would be mocked and opposed by everyone. Dress up in a white robe and see if anyone will attend your rally.
In fact, not only are most of us nowadays not racist, I would even go so far as to say that we're mostly anti-racist. We hate racism so much in our society that if you ever wanted to smear someone, hypothetically, to cause them economic, social, and romantic ruin, you could call them a racist.
Steiner gives a final warning about the consequences of using divisive labels. There may come a time when the sensation sphere of their personalities becomes so irritated that every understanding with non-gay, Jew, etc. becomes impossible. The inevitable consequence of identity group conflict is the war of all against all. But Steiner has a dream. I count it among the most beautiful fruits, which can drive human inclination, if every trace of suspicion between a Jew and a non-Jew is extinguished. I would call such a passion a victory over human nature. We don't have to be controlled by the automatic triggers of unconscious bias. With self-development, we can overcome cultural conditioning. This victory over human nature is the path to freedom presented in Steiner's philosophy of freedom. What counts in the question of prejudice is sensible arguments and plans, not the tearing of intimate threads between people, or the rise of emotional tendencies, or 1,000 unspeakable things. It would be best if there were as little talk as possible in this matter. We can stop following leaders who provoke emotional fits of outrage, and stop accusing others of racism, sexism, bigotry, homophobia, and anti-Semitism. Progress will be made through sensible discussions and plans. The solution is simple. We must stop valuing group identity over individual identity. Only the mutual actions of individuals should be valued. It does not matter if someone is white, black, brown, female, Muslim, gay, or Jew. If I find him nice, I like him. If he is disgusting, I avoid him. This is so simple that it is almost silly when you say it. The way to end group stereotyping is to emphasize individual identity. You will learn nothing about an individuality in the ethnic studies, women's studies, or gender studies programs offered at universities. You learn about an individuality by listening to their way of viewing the world, learning about their goals, and by observing their actions. Only an individual can be free of bias.